In this video, we're going to finish up our blocks for our vintage ornament quilt. One that we're going to do today is a square in a square, and our second one is a pinwheel. This is blocks 7 and 8. You'll have a total of 16 blocks by the time these two are finished. Now, if you stick around, maybe hit that subscribe button. For next week, I'll be giving you 2 bonus blocks that you can add to your quilt, or you can make pillows or wall hangings with. Hello and welcome. I'm Jackie with Jackie Russell Creates, where we talk about everything quilting and sewing. I give tips, tricks, and techniques for your next sewing project. So let's get started on making these 2 blocks. So our first block is our pinwheel block, and you're going to need 2 5-inch squares from 2 different colors of fabric. I'm using a holly and a red. You're going to need 4 2.5-inch squares of your background fabric, which I'm using white, a 2.5 by 8.5, 2 that are 12.5 by 2.5. You're going to need one that is 1.5 by 8.5, 2 that are 1.5 by 3.5, and a gray or a silver that is 1.5 by 2.5. I will have all these measurements linked down below, so you will have them. So we're going to start with fabrics 1 and 2, which is the 5-inch squares. And we're going to draw a line from corner to corner on the back of 2 of them. We're pretty much making half square triangles. And so you're going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of that line. So you're going to put right sides together, and you're going to sew on both sides. You're also going to take your gray strip with the 2 that are 3.5 inch long, and we're going to sew one of them on each side of the gray. And I like to do the chain piecing. We're going to take our ruler and we're going to cut down that line that we drew. Then we're going to take to the ironing board and we're going to press them open. And I'm going to press them all toward the green. And then we're going to press the gray in toward the gray. And Sugar May came to help us today. How you doing, baby girl? Now we're going to take, and I like to use my June Taylor ruler, and we're going to square these up to 4.5. And now that they're all squared up, we just need to lay them in a pinwheel pattern, and you're going to sew the 2 together and make 2 rows. And then you're going to take your 8.5-inch strip, that's 1.5, and sew it to the one with the gray. So I sewed those together, and then I pressed them toward the green fabric on both of them. And then that way they'll be able to nest together. And so now we're just going to sew the 2 rows together. And because we press toward the green, you're going to get a nice nestle right there so you don't clip those corners. And then you can press it open, or however you prefer to press it, so you have less bulk right there in that center joint. Now that we have that all sewn together, we're going to do the snowball effect. So you need to take your 4 2.5-inch squares, and you're going to draw a line from corner to corner, and this time we're going to sew right along that line. We're going to place them on the corner of all 4 corners, and then we're going to sew right along on that line. Now I like to check to make sure that I sewn them on right, and if I have, then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line my 1/4 inch mark on that stitch line, and we're going to cut off those little triangles. Be sure to save your triangles. Then we're going to take this to the ironing board and press them open. Now we're going to attach the hanging part. I like to fold the gray in half and give it a little finger press. And because I know that this seam is in the center, I can just line up that little crease right along that edge, that seam, and that's going to assure that the hanger is in the center of our block. Then we're also going to sew the 2.5 by 8.5 along the bottom of this block. So let me know what your favorite block is so far out of all 8 blocks that we have completed. You can be able to watch a playlist that I'll have listed in the description below, but I also will have it up in the right hand corner coming up on the screen. So let me know which one is your favorite so far. Now we're just going to finish up the block by putting the 12.5 inch strips along the side. And now you just press everything nice and flat. And there is block number 7. Now let's move on to our last block, which is a square in a square. And you're going to need the same measurements for the top and the sides. But for your squares, you're going to need to cut your center block at 8.5 square. And then you're going to cut your side pieces at 4 3/4. Then you're going to take your ruler and you're going to draw a line from corner to corner. Now if you're doing a directional, make sure that you have it lined up so it folds out good. And then we're going to take our block. We're going to do it kind of like we did the snowball effect on the other blocks, but you're going to do opposite corners. So you're going to start at one corner and then do the opposite, just like that, and you're going to stitch right on that line. Now before we add the other 2 corners on, we need to trim this. So you're going to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then you're going to press these open and you're going to press toward the center block. Now all we did was the same thing. We just added the other 2 corners and then press toward the center block. Now we're going to do the snowball effect. So we're going to take our 2.5 inch squares. We're going to draw a line from corner to corner on all 4 of them, or you can eyeball it if you are brave enough. And you're going to take and you're going to sew these kind of the same way. You're just going to sew on that corner, but you can go all the way around and just sew on that line. Then I'm also going to take the gray or the silver and I'm going to sew the 1.5 by 3.5 on each side to give us the hanger. Now we have the corner pieces sewn on. We need to check to make sure they're going the right direction, but we're going to trim them off, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then you're going to take it to the ironing board and press toward the white. You're also going to take your strip with the gray and you're going to press toward the gray. Now we just got to decide which way we want our block to go, and you're going to take the 2.5 by 8.5 and put it at the bottom, and you're going to take the 1.5 by 8.5 and sew it to the gray strip. Now we're going to attach the hanger, and what I'm going to do is take and fold the gray in half, give it a finger press, and I'm going to do the same thing with the block just to make sure that, you know, it's lining up perfect. We're going to sew on that to the top of the block. We're going to take it to the ironing board and press everything toward the white. Now let's finish this block up by adding the 2 strips down the side. So here is both our blocks, 7 and 8, to finish up our vintage ornament quilt. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with one of your friends. Give them some holiday cheer and maybe some inspiration. And watch for the next video where we're going to assemble it. And next week, we're going to have some bonus blocks so you can make your quilt a little bigger. Until then, happy quilting, my friends.